The fake badge gleamed as his palm cracked across my wife's cheek. The slap echoed off our garage walls like a gunshot. Celeste stumbled backward, red handprint blooming on her face. She pulled out her phone to call real police. This psycho slapped it from her hands. Screens spiderwebbed across concrete with a sickening crunch. But he wasn't done. Rutherford Blackstone, fake HOA cop wannabe, kicked over our sacred memorial garden, trampled the flag display honoring my fallen Navy SEAL brothers, scattered photos of soldiers who died for America, sweet rose petals mixed with diesel exhaust from his wannabe police truck, my wife, pregnant, crying over broken phone pieces and crushed flowers. I'm Staff Sergeant Jake Morrison, Navy SEAL Team 6, currently deployed 8,000 miles away, watching my family get terrorized by some fake badge-wearing coward. He had no idea what was coming home. What would you do if fake cops attacked your pregnant wife? Drop your location. Where are you watching this unfold? Let me take you back 3 weeks before that slap heard round the neighborhood. I'm Staff Sergeant Jake Morrison, Navy SEAL Team 6. Been deployed overseas for 8 months, protecting American interests in places I can't name. Back home in Pinewood Estates, Colorado, my wife Celeste keeps our world running. Our modest ranch house sits in the heart of military family territory. 40% of neighbors are active duty or retired. We bought it with a VA loan because it felt safe. Kids playing while parents deployed, wives supporting each other through lonely nights. Celeste works part-time as a veterinary assistant. But her real job? Tending our backyard memorial garden. 3 wooden crosses honor my fallen SEAL teammates. Marcus died saving civilians in Kabul. Tommy took shrapnel meant for his squad. Rivera never made it off that helicopter in Syria. Celeste planted roses from each man's hometown. White Tennessee blooms, red Ohio petals, yellow Texas sunshine. She rotates the American flag daily. Neighbors bring flowers on Memorial Day. Even non-military families respect what that garden represents. Until Rutherford Blackstone decided it was a problem. Picture this. 52-year-old police academy dropout playing dress-up cop, full fake uniform, shiny badge, tactical vest straining over his beer gut, drives a modified F-150 with emergency lights like he's responding to donut emergencies. This clown appointed himself HOA compliance director without board approval. His real motivation? Pure resentment. He hated that military families earned respect he never could. We got benefits, honor, community support, everything his failed cop dreams never delivered. So he targeted us while husbands were deployed, vulnerable wives, alone with kids, dealing with fake authority. His opening move came on a Tuesday morning. Celeste found a bright yellow violation notice stuck to our front door. $500 fine, unauthorized landscaping violation. The notice claimed our memorial garden created insurance liability and community safety concerns. Said the HOA had enforcement authority requiring immediate compliance. Celeste researched HOA bylaws that night. Coffee steam rising from her mug, sprinkler system clicking across the roses, page after page of regulations. Nothing about memorial gardens, nothing about landscaping restrictions. Blackstone was making up rules as he went. She called me through secure military communications, voice shaking with anger, not fear. Jake, this man is trying to destroy the boys' memorial, claims it's against HOA rules that don't exist. I could hear normal neighborhood sounds behind her voice, lawnmower humming, kids playing, peace that some wannabe cop was shattering for his ego trip. Don't pay him a penny, I said. Document everything. I'm working on emergency leave. But Blackstone escalated before I could get home. The next morning he returned with backup. Ned Crenshaw, another failed security guard wearing tactical gear like a costume. They parked that ridiculous fake police truck in our driveway, diesel engine rumbling like a threat. Ma'am, you have 24 hours to remove this unauthorized memorial display, Blackstone announced, adjusting his fake badge. The HOA board has voted to enforce community safety standards. Celeste stood on our front porch, garden hose still in her hand from watering the roses. I want to see that board meeting minutes. And your real credentials. That's when Blackstone made his first mistake. He stepped onto our property without permission. We don't need permission, lady. We have enforcement authority over this entire community. Celeste pulled out her phone to record. Then you won't mind me calling real police to verify your authority. Blackstone's face went red. His fake deputy fidgeted with whatever toy weapon he'd brought. These wannabes were used to intimidating scared housewives, not military spouses who knew their rights. Put that phone away or you'll be charged with interfering with official business. The memorial roses swayed in gentle Colorado breeze, American flag snapping clean in morning air. Normal people living normal lives while predators circled the vulnerable. Blackstone thought he'd found easy prey. He had no idea he'd just picked a fight with a Navy SEAL's family. Some mistakes you only get to make once. Blackstone returned 3 days later like a bad rash that wouldn't quit. This time he brought the whole amateur hour parade. Ned Crenshaw clutching his fake taser. I swear it was a TV remote wrapped in electrical tape. A new clown calling himself Deputy Martinez, who was obviously mall security, still rocking his Brookstone shopping center name tag under a tactical vest 2 sizes too small. Plus some pimply teenager with a walkie-talkie saying, "Copy that," to absolutely nobody. They rolled up in formation like they were storming Normandy instead of harassing a pregnant woman's flower garden. The morning air reeked of diesel exhaust from their ridiculous convoy as Blackstone strutted to our front door. "Mrs. Morrison, we have a warrant for immediate garden removal." Celeste stepped onto the porch, 7 months pregnant but standing tall like the warrior she married. "Show me that warrant." Blackstone held his fake papers just out of reach. "This is official HOA police business. Comply immediately or face arrest for obstruction. Here's where my wife proved why she's tougher than half my SEAL team." Instead of backing down, she pulled out her phone and hit record. "Since this is official police business, you won't mind me documenting everything for legal purposes." Blackstone's left eye started twitching, always a tell when bullies get challenged. "Put that phone away, ma'am." "You're interfering with lawful investigation." "What department did you say you're with?" Celeste asked, sweet as poisoned honey. "Badge number? Jurisdiction?" The fake deputy squad started sweating harder than recruits on Hell Week. Martinez kept tugging at his name tag like it might disappear. The teenager tried hiding behind Ned's considerable beer gut. That's when Celeste dropped her first tactical strike. "Funny thing, I already called County Sheriff Dispatch. They're sending a real deputy to verify your credentials. Should arrive any minute." Blackstone's face went from red to eggplant purple. His whole scam depended on intimidating isolated victims. Real cops showing up meant game over for his dress-up party. "We don't need county verification." HOA enforcement operates under federal community safety regulations. Even pregnant, Celeste nearly burst out laughing. "Federal regulations for rose bushes? Seriously?" The sweet sound of an actual police siren cut through suburban morning calm. Deputy Sarah Riley's patrol car eased into our driveway, and suddenly Blackstone's crew looked like kids caught raiding the cookie jar. Deputy Riley stepped out, all professional competence and real authority. The contrast was embarrassing. Authentic versus artificial. The difference hit you like a spotlight. "Morning, folks. Dispatch said something about impersonation concerns?" Blackstone tried keeping his tough guy act together. "Deputy, we're HOA enforcement conducting official community safety operations." Chen examined his costume shop uniform, plastic badges, toy tactical gear. Years of police training versus weekend warrior fantasies. "Let's see your peace officer certification." "We're not peace officers. We're HOA compliance enforcement." "Then why the police-style uniforms and arrest threats?" Chen ran Blackstone's ID through her mobile unit. What came back changed everything. "Mr. Blackstone, you're not licensed security in Colorado. No legal authority for detentions or enforcement actions." Then she paused, checking something else. "But you are legitimately appointed HOA compliance director." Blackstone's smirk returned like a bad infection. "Exactly. Full authority for HOA violation enforcement. Community association governance falls under federal housing regulations." Chen looked uncomfortable, like she'd stepped in something unpleasant. "Ma'am, technically they're not impersonating police if they don't claim to be officers. And HOA enforcement is civil jurisdiction." I could hear Celeste's heart sinking through the phone when she called later. Blackstone had found his golden loophole. Not criminal enough for arrests, but enough fake power to terrorize families. "However," Riley added, "threatening arrests without authority could constitute harassment. Happy to file reports if you want charges pressed." Blackstone actually laughed. "Harassment for enforcing community standards? We have documented violations and board authorization." After Riley left and the fake deputy circus packed up their toys, Celeste did what military spouses do best. She fought back smart. That afternoon, her recorded confrontation hit the Pinewood Estates Facebook group like a tactical nuke. Within hours, the comments section exploded with similar stories. Lisa Martinez: "Threatened towing while my husband deployed to Afghanistan." Sarah Kim: "Fake citations for kids' sidewalk chalk during Iraq tour." Jenny Rodriguez: "Said our Purple Heart flag violated community aesthetics." Pattern recognition kicked in fast. 6 families, all military, all targeted during deployments. By evening, Celeste had organized something beautiful, an informal network of military wives sharing legal resources, documenting harassment patterns, building evidence files. From my secure communication post overseas, I watched my wife transform from victim to general. She was building an army. Blackstone thought his legal loophole meant victory, but he just handed a bunch of pissed-off military spouses a common enemy. Big mistake. We protect our own. And we never surrender to bullies. The real war was just getting started. Blackstone's fake authority went to his head faster than cheap whiskey at a frat party. Within a week, our mailbox was stuffed with more bogus violations than a carnival game booth. $400, emergency safety violation, Memorial Garden creates pedestrian trip hazard. $300, insurance liability notice, unauthorized flag display increases HOA premiums. $500, community aesthetics violation, non-approved landscaping disrupts property values. $1,200 in fake fines for honoring dead soldiers. The paperwork looked official enough to fool most people. Professional letterhead, legal-sounding language, official stamps that probably came from a craft store. Blackstone had done his homework on intimidation tactics, but the real gut punch came with the threat letter. Final notice. Failure to remit payment within 72 hours will result in property lien filing and possible foreclosure proceedings. HOA Enforcement Authority supersedes homeowner objections under Federal Housing Community Safety Act. Celeste read that garbage while I was stuck 8,000 miles away, unable to protect my family. The morning coffee in her mug went cold as she realized what Blackstone was attempting: financial warfare against military families who couldn't afford legal battles during deployments. That's when she discovered something interesting. During my years in special operations, I'd learned that every bureaucratic system has pressure points. Celeste decided to find Blackstone's weak spots. She started with public records research. Turns out legitimate HOA enforcement requires formal board voting and state insurance commission licensing. Who knew? Blackstone certainly hoped nobody would figure that out. Her next move was pure tactical brilliance. Instead of fighting alone, she called an emergency HOA board meeting. I'm requesting immediate review of Mr. Blackstone's enforcement authority and recent violation procedures, she announced to board president Harold Whimsy over the phone. Whimsy sounded nervous as a long-tailed cat in a room full of rocking chairs. Well, Mrs. Morrison, Rutherford has been very thorough in his community safety efforts. Thorough enough to require $1,200 in fines for a memorial garden honoring fallen soldiers. The board supports maintaining property values and community standards. Celeste organized every targeted military family to attend that board meeting. 10 wives, 15 kids, 2 retired colonels, and 1 very pissed-off Gold Star mother whose son died in Fallujah. The community center felt electric that Tuesday night. Folding chairs packed with military families on one side, Blackstone supporters on the other. The smell of burnt coffee and tension thick enough to cut with a bayonet. Celeste stood up first, pregnancy making her movements careful, but her voice steel strong. Mr. Blackstone has issued over $8,000 in violations to military families in the past month, 0 violations to non-military residents. I'm requesting board review of this obvious discrimination pattern. Blackstone jumped up like his chair was on fire. Mrs. Morrison, military families don't get special treatment for ignoring community regulations. What regulations? Show me the bylaw requiring memorial garden removal. That's when the meeting took an ugly turn. Harold Whimsy cleared his throat. The board has reviewed Mr. Blackstone's documentation. His enforcement methods appear thorough and justified. Retired Colonel Patterson stood up, all 6'4" of decorated Marine authority. Harold, I've read these violation notices. Half the cited regulations don't exist in your HOA charter. Well, Rutherford has broader authority to interpret community safety needs. The room erupted, military families demanding answers. Blackstone supporters mumbling about special privileges and declining property values. Then Celeste dropped her bombshell. Mr. Whimsy, when did the board vote to grant Mr. Blackstone enforcement authority? Whimsy's face went pale as hospital sheets. Well, it was. We discussed it extensively. I want to see the meeting minutes, the official vote count, the documented approval. Silence stretched like a taut wire. Finally, Whimsy mumbled. Rutherford presented very compelling arguments for community safety enhancement. Colonel Patterson's voice cut through the room like a sword. That's not a vote, Harold. That's not even a discussion. You gave enforcement authority to someone without board approval? Here's where things got really interesting. Whimsy started sweating like he was in a sauna. Look, Rutherford is family. My brother-in-law. He's just trying to help maintain community standards. The revelation hit the room like a flashbang grenade. Nepotism, fake authority, family corruption protecting harassment campaigns against military families. But Whimsy wasn't done digging his grave. These military families think they're special, moving in with their flags and memorials, expecting everyone to worship their service. This is a civilian community with civilian standards. Dead silence. Then Colonel Patterson smiled, the kind of smile that makes smart people very nervous. Harold, I think you just clarified exactly what this is really about. The meeting ended with formal complaints filed, legal documentation requested, and one very exposed fake authority network. Blackstone had gained some fake power through family connections, but he'd just revealed the whole conspiracy to a room full of people trained in tactical planning. Military families don't just fight battles, we win wars. And this war was about to get very interesting. Blackstone's harassment campaign shifted into psycho-stalker territory after that board meeting humiliation. 6 a.m. door pounding became his new hobby. Bang, 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 fake badges rattling against our front door like machine gun fire. HOA wellness check. Noise complaints require immediate investigation. Celeste would stumble to the door, 7 months pregnant and exhausted, to find Blackstone's smug face pressed against the window. Ma'am, we've received multiple reports of disruptive activity from this residence. What disruptive activity? I was sleeping. Failure to comply with community quiet hours. Excessive television volume after 10 p.m. Our neighbors on both sides confirmed they'd never filed complaints. Blackstone was manufacturing violations out of thin air, using fake authority to invade our home at all hours. But the real mindfuck was his psychological warfare tactics. He started referencing my deployment with creepy accuracy. How's Staff Sergeant Morrison's classified assignment going? Dangerous work, those overseas operations. Hope he stays safe out there. The implication was crystal clear. This wannabe cop somehow had inside information about military operations. Celeste's blood ran cold every time he dropped hints about locations, mission timelines, security protocols. Ma'am, military families face unique challenges during extended deployments. Community support becomes essential for safety and well-being. Translation: your husband's not here to protect you. I can do whatever I want. The fake citations multiplied like cancer cells. Unauthorized vehicle parking, because Celeste's car sat in our own driveway. Improper trash placement for putting bins out Tuesday night instead of Wednesday morning. Violation of community aesthetic standards for a chalk drawing our neighbor's kid left on our sidewalk. Every violation came with the same threat. Failure to remit payment within 48 hours will result in escalated enforcement action. What kind of escalated action? Blackstone made sure Celeste's imagination filled in the blanks. That's when I made the decision that changed everything. Through secure military communications, I told my commanding officer the whole situation. Family emergency requiring immediate intervention. Morrison, you've got 96 hours emergency leave approved. Handle your situation. Meanwhile, Celeste was building her own intelligence network. She'd installed security cameras around our property, little wireless units that looked like decorative garden lights. Every harassment incident got recorded in crystal clear high definition. The footage revealed Blackstone's operation was bigger than we thought. He wasn't just targeting us anymore. His fake deputy squad was conducting patrols throughout military family neighborhoods. Ned Crenshaw issuing parking tickets to wives picking up kids from school. Mall cop Martinez photographing houses for violation documentation. The teenage walkie-talkie kid leaving threatening notices on doors. But Celeste's tactical breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Mrs. Riley, the elderly neighbor Blackstone had pressured for complaint signatures, knocked on our door one evening. Her hands shook as she handed Celeste a manila envelope. "Honey, that man came to my house 3 times demanding I sign papers about your garden. Said military families were dangerous to community safety." Inside the envelope were blank complaint forms with forged signatures. Mrs. Riley's name, along with 5 other neighbors, all claiming various violations against military families. "I never signed anything," Mrs. Riley whispered. "He must have copied my signature from somewhere." Document forgery, identity theft, conspiracy to defraud. The evidence was piling up like cordwood. But the real bombshell came when Celeste cross-referenced the complaint dates with security camera footage. Blackstone had been accessing our property illegally, installing hidden surveillance equipment disguised as HOA safety monitors. The little black box she'd found in a fake traffic cone wasn't random. It was part of a systematic spying operation. Federal crime territory. This wasn't harassment anymore. It was stalking with technology. That night, Celeste called me through encrypted communication. Her voice carried something new. Not fear, but cold determination. "Jake, I found his surveillance equipment. Audio and video. He's been recording our private conversations, our daily routines, learning when I'm most vulnerable." The phone line crackled with 8,000 miles of distance, but my wife's tactical mind came through clear as daylight. But here's the beautiful part. He doesn't know I found it. I can feed him false information, control what he thinks he knows. My wife, the veterinary assistant, had just outlined a counterintelligence operation that would make my SEAL instructors proud. "What kind of false information?" "That you're coming home tomorrow. Emergency leave approved. landing at Denver International at 0800 hours. The trap was set. Blackstone thought he had all the time in the world to terrorize my family, but he was about to discover that Navy SEALs don't announce their arrival. We just show up and handle business. Tomorrow morning, Blackstone's fake authority would meet real military training. Some lessons can only be learned through direct experience. Class was about to begin. The hidden camera inside Blackstone's fake traffic cone contained enough evidence to bury him for decades. Celeste spent that night reviewing footage on our laptop, coffee growing cold as she uncovered the full scope of Blackstone's criminal enterprise. What started as HOA harassment had metastasized into something much darker. The memory card held hours of surveillance from multiple military family properties. But more damaging were the audio recordings of Blackstone's planning sessions with his fake deputy crew. "Listen to this," Celeste whispered during our secure call, playing back crystal-clear audio through her phone. Blackstone's voice recorded 3 days earlier. "We need these military families gone by Christmas. Property values drop, insurance claims increase. Harold's development company swoops in with lowball offers. Harold Whimsy, the HOA board president and Blackstone's brother-in-law, responding, 'How much can we squeeze before they break?' Morrison's wife is cracking. Few more weeks of pressure and she'll convince hubby to sell cheap and relocate." The pieces clicked together like puzzle fragments, forming a nightmare picture. This wasn't random harassment, it was an orchestrated real estate conspiracy designed to drive military families out of Pinewood estates, artificially crash property values, then allow Whimsy's secretly owned development company to buy homes for pennies on the dollar. "Get this," Celeste continued, her voice tight with controlled anger. "Blackstone's been running this scam for 2 years, started in Riverside Gardens across town, targeted single mothers and elderly residents first. The audio evidence was devastating. Blackstone bragging about psychological pressure campaigns that forced families to sell at 60% below market value. Whimsy calculating profit margins from community improvement through selective resident management." But the most chilling revelation came from Blackstone's conversation with someone identified only as the investor. Unknown voice. "Military families require different techniques. They're trained to resist pressure, Blackstone. That's why we target them during deployments. Isolate the wives, create financial stress, manufacture community conflict. Even tough military spouses break when they're alone with kids. Timeline for Phase 2? 6 months. Clear out the last 8 military families, flip the properties to luxury developments, triple our investment." Phase 2 meant escalation beyond harassment. The audio revealed plans for property damage, false police reports, manufactured emergencies designed to force immediate relocations. My wife had stumbled onto a criminal conspiracy that threatened every military family in Colorado Springs. But here's where Blackstone's arrogance became his weakness. The surveillance system he'd installed to monitor victims had recorded his own criminal admissions. Federal prosecutors call that defendant's own voice confessing to conspiracy. Celeste discovered something else buried in the footage. Financial records Blackstone thought were private, showing money transfers between shell companies, bribery payments to local officials, even connections to predatory real estate investors operating in military communities nationwide. The scope was staggering. Blackstone wasn't just some wannabe cop harassing neighbors. He was running a sophisticated fraud operation targeting military families across multiple states, using fake authority and psychological manipulation to steal homes worth millions. "Jake, we're not just fighting one fake cop anymore. This is organized crime with connections to local government." The power dynamic had shifted completely. 24 hours ago, Blackstone held all the cards: fake authority, community support, legal loopholes protecting harassment. Now Celeste held evidence of federal crimes: conspiracy, fraud, racketeering, identity theft, illegal surveillance, bribery. Enough charges to put Blackstone and his crew away for life, but they didn't know she'd found their surveillance equipment. Strategic advantage meant controlling information flow. Blackstone still believed he was hunting isolated prey, unaware his victim had become the predator. "What's the plan?" I asked, already knowing my wife had evolved beyond victim status. "Tomorrow morning, Mr. Blackstone gets a masterclass in tactical deception. He thinks he's been watching us." Her voice carried the cold satisfaction of a trap perfectly set. "Time to show him what it feels like to be hunted." War Council convened at 0600 hours in our kitchen, coffee brewing like liquid determination. The command structure was simple: Jake Morrison, Tactical Operations Leader; Colonel Patterson, Legal Warfare Specialist; Celeste Morrison, Intelligence and Coordination. Mission objective: destroy Blackstone's criminal network, protect military community, prosecute every bastard involved. Timeline: 72 hours before Blackstone's planned Phase 2 escalation. whatever fresh hell that meant. First priority, Colonel Patterson said, spreading legal documents across our kitchen table, is building an airtight federal case. We're not just stopping harassment anymore, we're dismantling organized crime. The colonel's attorney contacts had been busy. Turns out, when you target military families systematically across state lines, you trigger federal jurisdiction under multiple statutes. Wire fraud for fake legal documents, mail fraud for violation notices, conspiracy under RICO statutes, civil rights violations for targeting protected class citizens. Each fake violation notice mailed to military families constitutes federal mail fraud, Patterson explained. 18 families, average 6 violations each. That's 108 separate federal felonies just for the paperwork. Here's something most people don't know. Federal prosecutors love cases with military victims. It plays beautifully to juries, and judges take targeting service members very personally. Blackstone had picked the worst possible victims for his scam. My contribution was pure tactical intelligence. 8 months of special operations training applied to suburban warfare. Blackstone's crew follows predictable patterns, I said, pointing to surveillance maps Celeste had created. Daily patrol routes, meeting locations, communication schedules. They're operating like military units, but without military discipline. The beauty of fighting amateurs is their overconfidence. Blackstone's fake deputies thought tactical gear made them professional. Real professionals understand that gear is useless without training, discipline, and situational awareness. Celeste's intelligence network had expanded beyond anything I'd imagined. Military wives sharing information through secure group chats. Retired veterans conducting discreet surveillance. Even civilian neighbors secretly documenting harassment incidents. Lisa Martinez has audio recordings of Ned Crenshaw admitting the whole thing is fake, Celeste reported. Jenny Rodriguez caught them planting evidence in her trash to justify violation notices. Sarah Kim has video of Blackstone accessing her property illegally. Each piece of evidence strengthened the federal case exponentially. But we needed more than evidence. We needed to spring the perfect trap. Here's how we bait the hook, I explained, channeling years of tactical planning experience. Celeste feeds false information through the compromised surveillance system, makes Blackstone think he's winning, gets him overconfident. The disinformation campaign was beautiful in its simplicity. Through carefully staged phone conversations and deliberate private discussions, we'd make Blackstone believe several military families were ready to surrender. Fake negotiations about selling houses, manufactured desperation about financial pressure, scripted breakdowns designed to feed his ego. Colonel Patterson's legal team was positioning multiple strategies simultaneously. Federal prosecutors in Denver reviewing RYCO charges. State Attorney General investigating HOA fraud patterns. Local district attorney preparing criminal harassment cases. We're not just prosecuting Blackstone, Patterson smiled grimly. We're creating legal precedent protecting military families nationwide. Meanwhile, the media strategy was pure psychological warfare. Local investigative reporter Angela Martinez, no relation to our Lisa Martinez, specialized in exposing consumer fraud. She'd been tracking similar schemes in military communities for months. Angela's story runs tomorrow morning, Celeste explained. Perfect timing to coordinate with Blackstone's planned escalation. The trap location was critical. Community center during monthly HOA meeting, maximum witnesses, perfect acoustics for recording multiple exit routes if things got physical. But my favorite element was the technical setup. Professional audiovisual equipment disguised as community access television coverage. Multiple hidden cameras providing courtroom-quality evidence. Live streaming to social media platforms ensuring immediate viral exposure. Blackstone thought he controlled information in Pinewood Estates. He was about to discover the difference between fake authority and real tactical planning. What about personal protection? I asked, knowing Blackstone's escalation could turn violent. Already handled, Patterson replied. 3 plainclothes security specialists will be positioned throughout the audience. All retired military police, fully licensed, carrying legal concealed weapons. The financial investigation had uncovered something beautiful. Blackstone's shell companies were bleeding money. The real estate scam wasn't profitable yet. They needed more military families to sell before Phase 2 could succeed, which meant they were operating on desperation timeline. Desperate criminals make stupid mistakes. One more thing, Celeste added, pulling out a manila envelope. Mrs. Riley's grandson works for the county assessor's office. Guess who's been filing false property value assessments to justify forced sales? More evidence, more federal charges, more nails in Blackstone's coffin. Tomorrow night, Blackstone would walk into that community center thinking he was about to complete his victory over isolated military wives. Instead, he'd discover he'd been fighting trained professionals who'd been 3 steps ahead the entire time. Some battles are won before they're fought. This one was already over. Blackstone just didn't know it yet. Blackstone's desperation hit like a tsunami of stupidity the next morning. Celeste woke to find traitors spray-painted across our garage door in dripping red letters. Our truck tires slashed to ribbons. The memorial garden vandalized again. Rose bushes uprooted, flagpoles snapped in half, ceramic markers smashed to powder. But the real escalation came with what Blackstone planted in our backyard. Small plastic baggies of white powder carefully positioned near the memorial crosses. Fake drugs designed to look like cocaine or heroin. The amateur hour criminal was setting up military families for drug possession charges. "Jake, this is insane," Celeste whispered through our secure call, surveying the planted evidence through our kitchen window. "He's trying to frame us for drug dealing." The psychological warfare had shifted to outright criminal frame-up. Blackstone wasn't just harassing anymore. He was manufacturing felony evidence designed to destroy lives permanently. But here's what this wannabe criminal didn't understand about military families. We document everything. Every act of vandalism got recorded in high definition from multiple angles, every planted bag of fake drugs photographed with timestamp metadata, every threatening note preserved as evidence with chain of custody documentation that would make FBI forensics teams proud. While Blackstone thought he was escalating successfully, I was conducting textbook reconnaissance missions throughout Pinewood Estates. 3 a.m. surveillance runs using skills learned hunting terrorists in Afghanistan, now applied to hunting fake cops in Colorado. His crew's operational security was laughably amateur. They met every Tuesday night at Denny's on Highway 24, planning criminal activities over coffee and pancakes like they were organizing a church bake sale. I planted GPS tracking devices under their vehicles while they stuffed their faces with bacon. Military-grade surveillance equipment that would track every movement, record every location, document every criminal conspiracy meeting. The intelligence goldmine was incredible. Blackstone's crew planning property damage campaigns. Discussions about bribing city officials, detailed timelines for forcing remaining military families out before Christmas. But the most damaging intelligence came from following Harold Whimsy, the corrupt HOA president. Thursday afternoon, Whimsy met with representatives from Mountain Vista Development Corporation, the shell company secretly planning to buy discounted military family properties. The meeting location? A strip club called the Brass Rail, where they thought privacy was guaranteed. Wrong assumption when you're being tracked by someone trained in counter-terrorism surveillance. I recorded every word through directional microphones that could pick up conversations from 200 yards away. Technology designed for hostile foreign operations, now documenting domestic criminal conspiracy. Timeline acceleration is critical, Whimsy explained to his development partners. Military families are organizing resistance. We need forced sales completed before they build legal momentum. The development company response was chilling. Authorize whatever escalation necessary. Property acquisition must proceed on schedule. That conversation revealed the true scope of their criminal enterprise. This wasn't local harassment anymore. It was part of a statewide operation targeting military communities, backed by millions in investment capital, and connected to legitimate real estate development companies. Meanwhile, Celeste was conducting her own psychological operations against Blackstone's surveillance network. She staged phone conversations designed to make him overconfident. Fake calls to real estate agents discussing emergency relocation. Scripted arguments with me about giving up the fight. Carefully planned breakdowns that fed directly into Blackstone's surveillance system. I can't take this anymore, Jake. Maybe we should just sell and move somewhere safer. Every word calculated to make Blackstone believe his pressure campaign was succeeding. The fake drugs planted in our backyard became the perfect trap bait. Instead of disposing of the evidence, we left everything untouched while documenting the frame-up attempt from multiple angles. Blackstone's plan was predictable. Wait 48 hours, then tip off police about suspicious drug activity at military family residences. Anonymous calls reporting drug dealing in the neighborhood. Search warrants based on community safety concerns. But federal prosecutors were already monitoring the situation. When Blackstone called police with his fake drug tips, he was actually providing voice evidence of conspiracy to file false reports. Every criminal action generated more federal charges. Every escalation attempt strengthened our case. Blackstone was digging his own grave with impressive efficiency. The psychological pressure on his crew was becoming visible. Ned Crenshaw kept checking over his shoulder during their Denny's meetings. Mall cop Martinez had started drinking heavily. The teenager with the walkie-talkie looked ready to confess everything to his mother. Amateur criminals crack under pressure. Professional criminals know when to cut their losses. Blackstone's crew was definitely amateur hour. Friday morning brought the final escalation. Anonymous flyers distributed throughout military family mailboxes. Warning: drug-dealing military families threaten community safety. Protect your children. Report suspicious activity to HOA enforcement immediately. Character assassination campaign designed to turn the entire neighborhood against us. Blackstone thought he was isolating his victims for the final kill. What he'd actually done was provide written evidence of defamation, libel, and conspiracy charges that would bury him in federal prison. Tomorrow night's community meeting was going to be very educational, for everyone except Blackstone. Blackstone's final power play arrived with the subtlety of a brick through a window. Saturday morning, every mailbox in Pinewood Estates received official-looking flyers declaring, "Emergency HOA enforcement action. Federal investigation initiated." The document was masterpiece of criminal fraud. Fake FBI letterhead, counterfeit federal seals, forged signatures from non-existent federal agents. Blackstone claimed, ongoing federal investigation into military family criminal activities required immediate community cooperation with enforcement personnel. By order of Federal Housing Security Act, all residents must comply with enhanced safety protocols pending investigation completion, the flyer declared. HOA enforcement officers authorized to conduct searches, interviews, and evidence collection. Pure fiction designed to legitimize whatever criminal escalation Blackstone planned next. But the real bombshell was buried in the fine print. Tonight's emergency HOA meeting would feature live enforcement demonstration and community safety presentation by federal investigators. Blackstone was planning his grand finale, a public humiliation designed to crush military family resistance permanently. The arrogance was breathtaking. This wannabe cop actually believed people would accept his fake federal authority without question. While Blackstone prepared his theatrical performance, I was implementing final tactical positioning throughout the community center. Surveillance equipment disguised as audiovisual hardware. Multiple recording devices hidden in emergency exit signs. Backup communication systems in case primary electronics failed. Every angle covered. Every contingency planned. Every piece of evidence documentation guaranteed. Colonel Patterson's federal prosecutors were positioned like chess masters, moving pieces into checkmate positions. Real FBI agents monitoring communications, authentic federal marshals standing by with legitimate arrest warrants, genuine federal investigators ready to demonstrate the difference between fake and real authority. Angela Martinez's investigative team will broadcast live, Celeste reported, reviewing our media strategy. 3 camera crews, direct satellite uplink, immediate viral distribution across social media platforms. The beauty of fighting criminals is their predictable behavior patterns. Blackstone's entire operation depended on controlling information, intimidating isolated victims, maintaining fake authority through psychological manipulation. Tonight he'd discover what happens when victims become predators. But Blackstone's crew was showing serious stress fractures. My surveillance revealed Ned Crenshaw meeting with a criminal defense attorney. Mall cop Martinez had called in sick to his real job for 3 consecutive days. The teenager with the walkie-talkie kept asking his parents about hypothetical legal troubles. Amateur criminals always crack under pressure. Professional criminals know when strategic retreat becomes survival necessity. Blackstone was neither amateur nor professional, just desperate. The community center setup was perfect psychological theater. Blackstone had requested presentation materials, including microphone, projection screen, and official documentation display area. He wanted maximum audience exposure for his fake federal authority demonstration. What he'd actually requested was the perfect trap environment. Multiple microphones ensuring crystal clear audio recording, large screen perfect for displaying real evidence of his criminal conspiracy, official documentation area where authentic federal agents could serve legitimate arrest warrants. Final intelligence briefing, I announced during our last planning session. Blackstone's planning to arrest Celeste tonight for interfering with federal investigation. The intercepted communications revealed his complete tactical plan. Public humiliation designed to break military family resistance. Fake handcuffs, fake charges, fake authority displayed before maximum community witnesses. His psychological calculation was simple. If he could publicly dominate the strongest military wife, other families would surrender without further resistance. Fatal miscalculation. What Blackstone didn't know was that tonight's audience would include decorated combat veterans, federal law enforcement officers, investigative journalists, and legal professionals documenting every moment for criminal prosecution. One more thing, Colonel Patterson added with grim satisfaction. Harold Whimsy tried accessing HOA financial accounts this afternoon. Bank flagged the transaction as suspicious. Federal investigators now have real-time evidence of money laundering attempts. The conspiracy was collapsing in real time. Whimsy's panic moves were generating additional federal charges faster than prosecutors could process paperwork. Celeste spent the afternoon conducting final psychological operations through Blackstone's surveillance network, staged phone calls discussing giving up the fight, fake conversations about accepting defeat, manufactured desperation designed to feed his overconfidence. "I can't handle this anymore," she said during a deliberately overheard call. "Whatever Blackstone wants tonight, I'll agree to everything." Perfect bait for a predator convinced he'd broken his prey. Evening approached like storm clouds gathering over mountains. Community center parking lot filling with residents, media trucks, and unmarked federal vehicles. Blackstone arrived in full tactical costume, fake SWAT gear, toy weapons, ridiculous authority display that would have been funny if it wasn't criminal. His confidence was absolute. Tonight was his coronation as neighborhood dictator. What he'd actually arranged was his own public execution. Federal justice doesn't negotiate with criminals who target military families. Class was about to begin, and the professor was about to receive a very permanent education. The community center buzzed with electric tension as 180 residents packed every folding chair and lined the walls. Blackstone strutted in like he owned the place. Full SWAT cosplay complete with tactical vest, fake weapons, and enough pouches to stock a military surplus store. His crew followed, Ned Crenshaw sweating through his security guard uniform, Mall Cop Martinez clutching a clipboard like a lifeline, and that poor teenager who looked ready to wet himself. "Ladies and gentlemen," Blackstone announced, positioning himself center stage, "tonight we address the criminal element threatening our community safety." Local news cameras rolled, social media live streams activated. Federal recording equipment captured every word in courtroom-quality audio. Celeste sat in the front row, hands folded, playing her role perfectly, the defeated military wife ready to surrender to superior authority. "Mrs. Morrison," Blackstone continued, "your family's refusal to comply with federal investigation has endangered this entire community." That's when Colonel Patterson stood up from the back row. "Excuse me, son, but what federal agency are you representing?" Blackstone's chest puffed out. "Federal Housing Security Act enforcement. We have full authority to investigate criminal activity in residential communities." "Interesting. I spent 30 years in military law enforcement. Never heard of that particular federal agency." Nervous laughter rippled through the audience. Blackstone's eyes started twitching, that familiar tell when bullies get challenged. "Sir, you're interfering with official federal business." That's when I stepped forward from the side entrance, still wearing my Navy uniform from the flight home. The room went dead silent. "Staff Sergeant Jake Morrison, Navy SEAL Team 6, I announced, voice carrying the authority of someone who'd earned it in combat. "Mr. Blackstone, I'd like to see your federal credentials." Blackstone's face went from confident to confused to panicked in 3 seconds. His fake deputy squad started looking around for exit routes. "We have full authority. Federal regulations require." "Show me your badge number, federal agency identification, chain of command authorization." Blackstone fumbled with his fake badge, hands shaking as he realized the trap closing around him. That's when Celeste stood up and delivered the mic drop moment that ended everything. "Actually, let me show everyone what Mr. Blackstone's real authority looks like." She walked to the projection screen, inserted a USB drive, and played audio from Blackstone's own surveillance equipment. His voice filled the room crystal clear. "We need these military families gone by Christmas. Property values drop. Insurance claims increase. Harold's development company swoops in with lowball offers." The room erupted. Gasps, shouts, people jumping to their feet as they heard Blackstone's criminal conspiracy in his own words. "Morrison's wife is cracking. Few more weeks of pressure and she'll convince hubby to sell cheap and relocate." Harold Whimsy tried bolting for the door. Too late. Federal agents stepped into view, badges and handcuffs, very real. "Ladies and gentlemen," announced FBI Special Agent Rebecca Torres, "Mr. Blackstone and his associates are under arrest for conspiracy, fraud, racketeering, and civil rights violations." Blackstone's world collapsed like a house of cards in a hurricane. "This is fake. I have authority. Federal regulations." Agent Torres smiled coldly. "The only thing fake here is your badge, your uniform, and your authority. Rutherford Blackstone, you're under arrest." Real handcuffs clicked around Blackstone's wrists. The sound echoed through absolute silence as 180 neighbors watched fake authority meet authentic justice. His fake deputy squad scattered like roaches when the lights come on. Ned Crenshaw was tackled trying to climb through a bathroom window. Mall Cop Martinez surrendered immediately, babbling apologies. The teenager started crying and asking for his mommy. But the most beautiful moment came when the entire community center erupted in applause, standing ovation from military families. Non-military neighbors apologizing for being deceived. Children cheering as the bad guys got arrested in real life. "Thank you for your service," someone shouted from the back. The chant spread through the room. "Thank you for your service. Thank you for your service. Not just for military service. For protecting the community. For standing up to bullies. For proving that justice still works when good people fight back." Angela Martinez's cameras captured everything live. Within minutes, video clips were going viral across social media. Fake HOA cop gets destroyed by real Navy SEAL trending nationwide. Blackstone's face as he realized his complete defeat was priceless. Months of fake authority, criminal conspiracy, and systematic harassment destroyed in 10 minutes of authentic justice. His enforcement crew led away in real handcuffs by real federal agents. His fake badges confiscated as evidence. His criminal empire collapsed before the entire community. The last thing I saw was Blackstone's pathetic expression as Agent Torres read his rights. The wannabe cop who'd terrorized military families finally meeting real authority. Justice served with a side of public humiliation. Exactly what he deserved. Some lessons can only be learned through direct experience. Class dismissed. The gavel came down like thunder 3 months later. Rutherford Blackstone, you are sentenced to 7 years federal prison for conspiracy, fraud, racketeering, and civil rights violations. Judge Patricia Hernandez's voice carried the weight of absolute justice. Your systematic targeting of military families represents the worst form of predatory behavior this court has seen. The courtroom packed with military families erupted in applause. Blackstone shuffled away in shackles, his fake authority replaced by very real orange jumpsuit. Harold Whimsy got 5 years plus $2 million in restitution. Construction business bankrupted, reputation destroyed. The corrupt HOA president learned expensive lessons about targeting people who fight back. His fake deputy squad, Ned Crenshaw, 18 months, mall cop Martinez, 12 months. The teenager got probation and mandatory how not to be a criminal counseling. But the real victory was watching our community transform from fear to celebration. Colonel Patterson won HOA president unanimously. His first act? Military family protection clauses preventing future harassment. His second? Memorial garden preservation requirements ensuring veterans get honored, not hassled. This community protects those who protected us, Patterson declared during his victory speech. Never again will military families face targeting while serving overseas. Property values skyrocketed after national media coverage. The neighborhood where heroes defeated fake cops became prime real estate. Military families specifically chose Pinewood Estates because bullies got crushed here. Our memorial garden reopened bigger and more beautiful than ever. Community volunteers donated labor, materials, and landscaping expertise. The new design honors all local veterans, fallen and living heroes celebrated together. Celeste gave birth to our daughter Emma, surrounded by neighbors who'd rallied to protect her before she was even born. Sometimes the best baby gift is a community that fights for what's right. But our proudest achievement is Operation Safe Harbor, Celeste's National Military Family Protection Program. Within 12 months, Operation Safe Harbor protected over 400 military families from HOA harassment, predatory real estate schemes, and systematic targeting. Free legal defense, federal prosecutor coordination, evidence documentation training. Military families sacrifice enough overseas, Celeste testified before Congress. They shouldn't fight criminals at home while defending freedom abroad. The program teaches practical protection strategies every military spouse should know. Document harassment properly, understand HOA legal limitations, recognize conspiracy patterns, coordinate with federal law enforcement when local police won't help. DIY security systems help families gather courtroom-quality evidence using $200 budgets. Hidden cameras catch violations, harassment, and criminal activity that civilian authorities often dismiss as neighbor disputes. Here's something concrete you can use. HOA enforcement officers must be state-licensed and bonded. Always demand official credentials, not costumes. Real authority comes with paperwork, insurance, and legal accountability. Our annual Heroes at Home Festival celebrates military families and community allies. Local businesses sponsor activities, veterans share stories, kids learn about service and sacrifice. This year's festival raised $75,000 for military family emergency assistance. Money helps with unexpected deployment expenses, legal costs, fighting harassment, emergency travel during family crises. Angela Martinez's investigative series Predators in Uniform exposed similar criminal networks in Texas, Florida, and Virginia. Her Pulitzer-nominated reporting revealed systematic military family targeting as a national crisis requiring federal intervention. The ripple effects keep spreading. Military communities nationwide implement protection protocols. Federal prosecutors prioritize service member targeting cases. Real estate regulators investigate harassment schemes. Sometimes one family's fight becomes everyone's freedom. Morning sunlight streams through our restored memorial garden where Marcus, Tommy, and Rivera's roses bloom brighter than ever. American flag snaps crisp in clean Colorado air. Children's laughter echoes through streets where silence once ruled. Emma takes her first steps on ground her parents made safe. Celeste tends roses without fear. I deploy knowing my family has a community that fights for them. Blackstone thought fake authority could crush real heroes. He learned the difference between costume courage and authentic strength. Justice served, community protected, bullies defeated. Freedom isn't free, but it's always worth fighting for. The war against neighborhood predators continues. Military families nationwide still face harassment, fraud, and systematic targeting, but they're not fighting alone anymore. Got your own HOA nightmare story? Drop it in comments below. HOA Tales reads everyone and features the best battles. Smash that subscribe button and join our army of neighbors who refuse to let bullies win. Together, we're making communities safe for heroes again. Next week on HOA Tales, Master Sergeant Rodriguez's Purple Heart Flag controversy in Texas. When HOA Karens mess with a Marine sniper's family, justice gets very creative.